Hello, everyone. Let me get these off so I can hear myself. Um, I've been reading this book by Steven Pinker, a renowned linguist, evolutionary psychologist, and I think neurologist. It's called The Blank Slate: The Modern Denial of Human Nature, and it's a fantastic book. Really, it's one of the best science books I've read in years, probably. But he had this quote by Adam Smith from The Theory of Moral Sentiments, which was a book that preceded um, The Wealth of Nations. And I found it interesting because, for one thing, liberals love to talk about the fact that Adam Smith wrote this book first because um, it's it's nice to believe that the first proponent of capitalism believed in moral sentiments and being compassionate. So this quote kind of made me question what the real content of that book is. But I'll read the quote and then talk a little bit more about the topic. So it's a little long, but not too, I think, not unbearable. Let us suppose that the great empire of China, with all its myriads of inhabitants, was suddenly swallowed up by an earthquake. And let us consider how a man of humanity in Europe, who had no sort of connection with that part of the world, would react upon receiving intelligence of this dreadful calamity. He would, I imagine, first of all express very strongly his sorrow for the misfortune of that unhappy people. He would make many melancholy reflections upon the precariousness of human life, and the vanity of all the labors of man, which could thus be annihilated in a moment. He would, too, perhaps, if he was a man of speculation, enter into many reasonings concerning the effects which this disaster might produce upon the commerce of Europe, and the trade and business of the world in general. And when all this fine philosophy was over, when all these humane sentiments had been once fairly expressed, he would pursue his business or his pleasure, take his repose or his diversion, with the same ease and tranquillity as if no such accident had happened. The most frivolous disaster which could befall himself would occasion a more real disturbance. If he was to lose his little finger tomorrow, he would not sleep tonight, but provided he never saw them, he would snore with the most profound security over the ruin of 100,000,000 of his brethren. And it got to me thinking about how bad humans are at perceiving statistics. There's a famous quote by Stalin that a single death is a tragedy, a million is a statistic. And I I haven't read it yet, but I have a book by Saul Alinsky called Rules for Radicals, which is pretty well known. And I was flipping through it one day, and I think he had a chapter or a paragraph about how ne- never, when you're trying to campaign for something, never should you try to say, use large numbers like 10,000, 20,000, whatever the number might be, millions, because what really tugs at the heartstrings is a single example of a mother dying at the hands of some brutal government or whatever. And I was thinking, if I'm not a Christian, I'm an atheist. If you haven't seen my other videos, but I was thinking if Jesus was telling the parable of the Good Samaritan today, it might be that he, instead of a single Samaritan by the side of the road, we might he might have caged it in terms of the 25,000 people that die of hunger each day, which is a true statistic as far as I know. I've heard 30,000 too, but 25,000 seems to be more common. But it would be the 25,000 people at the side of the road that are dying that we're all walking past because we're just so bad at perceiving what what is really going on. We can't imagine the suffering of 25,000 people, but if we hear about a single mother having her children die of starvation, it's brings you to tears, and it's the product of a Oscar award-winning movie, or topic of an Oscar award-winning movie. Um, so I think that's sort of an interesting thing to think about, and um, I I hope we can start learning some tricks, or our society can start learning to care a little bit more when those things are happening. I'm a moral nihilist, like I've said in my last video, but I still have the moral instinct, and so those things still bother me. Um, but like I said, in my last video, I'm a little cautious about using those moral instincts as a basis for an ideology, and I'm still kind of figuring out what the proper place to put my moral intuitions in my ideas, because it seems a little hard to. I went into that in my last video. I'll just stop now. Um, Go watch my other video if you're more interested in that. But thank you for watching, and I hope that was good.